Hey, thank you everyone for sticking around to see my talk. This is breaking in and how to get into penetration testing and be a good pen tester. So a little bit about myself. My name is Nathan Rice. I'm a senior penetration tester at Verizon. Here's a list of some certifications I've earned over the years, and I'm an avid hot sauce enthusiast. Just beat the Blazing Challenge at B-Dubs last week, so pretty proud of that, despite my stomach not liking that one bit. So this talk is going to be primarily about how to get into penetration testing. So a quick show of hands, who's ever considered penetration testing as a career path? All right, awesome, you are in the right place. So we're really going to be focusing on a few key people here. It'll be anyone with no InfoSec experience whatsoever, anyone who's traditional IT or IT based, wanting to switch into penetration testing, and blue team members that are kind of on the defense side of things that want to try getting their hand into like purple teaming or like red teaming or getting to more manual testing. Anyone's welcome to hang out, even if you're not in that descriptor. So what is a penetration tester? Always got to break into our definitions at first. It's an individual that conducts simulated cyber attacks against an organization with the organization's permission. We're not here to break laws. We're here to pop shells and get paid legally. So there's multiple kinds of penetration testers, kind of like how there's different lines like doctor. Some people, like for example, some people focus on like web applications. Some people get more focused on like binary analysis. You have the red teamers that are more like, pretend to be ransomwaring an organization, being covert. Some people focus on mobile apps like Android, iOS. There's kind of a hard area to specialize. Anyone who was at Adam's talk earlier probably remembers that there's a lot going on in InfoSec. So first we need to get a baseline of a person's current knowledge to assess how and when they can break into penetration testing. So you got to identify what you know, assess whether you have experience in all that might be applicable, and see what tech that you're into, because who wants to hack something they don't like? So we're going to start off assuming to anyone, if anyone's a student, has no experience at all, do you need a degree to be a penetration tester? No, but it helps. Generally, yes. I will get to that. So, thank you though. Generally, any kind of computer-related degree. Military service compliant, so computer science is generally good. A lot of places have cybersecurity degrees now, computer engineering. If it has computer in the name or cyber in the name, it's probably a good fit. Not required, but it's a good fit. Military service is enough usually to get past HR filters. I know quite a few guys have broken into penetration testing just on just some military experience on their own and a CEH. As long as you can prove your competency, obviously that goes a long way. A lot of people get in through writing blogs or research papers or just getting some certifications, generally enough. And a lot of people will just start at help desk and work their way down, which is honestly a beautiful way to develop the soft skills. Talking to, it's always really threatening talking to the chief information security officer. So we ransomwared you, is always nerve-wracking. So I found that working more social type jobs really help develop the soft skills needed to really explain yourself in those really awkward situations and meetings. So some basic, technical knowledge that you'll probably need to start penetration testing. Some basic networking. So knowing port 80's HTTP or knowing 443's HTTPS is generally helpful. Some basic networking concepts like TCP versus UDP. How routing works, whether you're getting firewall off. Generally speaking, programming is generally very helpful at all. 99.99% of public exploits are written in Python, so that one is incredibly useful, almost mandatory if you get any kind of internal or external penetration testing. And command line experience is generally helpful as well, because that's the most efficient way to administer a system. You can't always RDP into a system if another user is logged in unless they're running terminal services. So you don't want to boot, if I'm on a covert op and I'm internal, I don't want to RDP kick somebody out of their computer, because that's just impacting business at that point. So typically speaking, when you're getting a shell, you're going to be in the command line and not RDP. whether that's Linux or Windows. So having some kind of experience on the command line is essential. Okay, so now we're assuming everyone's into tech already. You got to pick something to get good at. So whether it be web development, Active Directory, DevOps stuff, maybe you're already a blue teamer and you're on the security team, you're probably doing something in the computer world that you've gotten good at. And it's generally speaking really useful to kind of keep your own space at first when you're switching into penetration testing. What do I mean by that? So if you're a web developer, you probably know what SQL injection is or know what cross-site scripting is. You should focus that. That's in your strong suit. It's going to be familiar, and then you can branch your way out. If you're an Active Directory admin, you probably know that having unconstrained delegation on a system or user is really, really insecure. Weaponize it. Try to see what you can do with it if you have that set. Don't be afraid to lab things up. Honestly, try to bypass your EDR. A lot of EDRs out of the box anymore they cover a good chunk, but not everything. You can always get more granular in your EDR rules. So knowing how to, what your EDR is looking for and things that can get around it or circumvent it is typically pretty helpful for the blue team. So once you have your areas that you're kind of good at, you can branch out from there. And there's a lot of free resources for penetration testing and hacking training in general. Some of the notable ones are TryHackMe, Hack the Box, the Port Swagger Labs. Offensive Security has a proven grounds platform now, and Over the Wire. All of these are simulated environments that you're allowed to hack. You essentially start out outside of a box. They will spawn a virtual lab for you. You start with nothing, and you just have to work your way through until you're admin or root on the system. They've all pretty helpful. They all range in difficulty too. Some are pretty easy, like just log into the box. Some can be very specialized, like TryHackMe's. They might just teach you how to use like Burp Suite, if anyone was at the Burp Suite talk earlier. And then they can range into full-on labs, like compromising an entire Active Directory environment. And some of them get pretty realistic too. Like you see a lot of these in real-world engagements often, and they're very invaluable resources for free. And then some entry-level certifications I would recommend if you're going to break into penetration testing. The Security Plus is everyone's first cert to InfoSec. It's generally the tried and true. INE has a free resource for their junior penetration tester. So it is free to take the course, at least it used to be, but it does cost money to attempt the certification. I believe it's $200 if I'm remembering right. But it's an entry-level practical penetration test where you're actually hacking something, using like Kali Linux, for example, where you're actually going to be working through and actually making your way through hacking. It's not just a multiple choice test, which are always beneficial, to be able to show real-world ability and skill. CyberMentor has their PNPT. I'm drawing a blank what it stands for, like Practical Network Pen Tester, I think. I've not taken it myself, but I've heard good things about it as well, where it's a real-world penetration test certification where you're behind the keyboard, you're hacking, you write a report, and then you have to actually deliver the report to them. That's part of your grade. You have to deliver a report, be able to like rebuttal them when something's not wrong if it actually is. It's like a real kind of like a Zoom meeting, and then you only get it after you successfully deliberate the report. So that's been pretty valuable. Offensive Security has a fundamentals course now as well, and their 100 series of certifications that are invaluable for getting your feet wet into penetration testing. So at this point, if you're trying to pick up hacking and you know a thing or two, you're comfortable in Kali Linux, you should register for some bug bounty programs, making a little extra cash. So for those who don't know, bug bounties are publicly paid platforms from real-world companies where if you find a vulnerability in any of their systems, usually web apps, they will pay you if you report them to them. So bug pays typically range anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000. So they pay quite lucratively if you can find something. BugCrowd and HackerOne are the two go-to ones for the United States. I think Europe and like some of the Asian countries have their own platforms as well. If you can pass a background check, Synac is another one. I didn't put Synac on there, shoot. Synac's a pretty popular one too, but it's a little stricter barrier to entry. You have to pass a background check, and you have to have a few certifications before they'll let you in the platform, because they do a little more vetting than the other ones, than BugCrowd or HackerOne. But it's always a good side gig for money. If you know a thing or two, you can always sign up for, and they're completely free to sign up too, so yeah, might as well give it a shot. CVE hunting is always really helpful to break into penetration testing as well. Does everyone know what a CVE is? Show of hands who knows what a CVE is. Okay, good. There is no such thing as a bad CVE. They look great on a resume. A lot of the times on resumes, people don't really look what they are. I'm going to show you an example of a CVE I found. First, there was a CVE for Raspberry Pis not too long. The username was like Pi and the password was Raspberry. I saw that and thought, huh, I can do that. So here's my CVE that I just got issued a couple months ago. I got the default credentials of admin in Fighting Cock Information System, aka some kid's college course that he uploaded to SourceForge. You can get a CVE for anything. They're not hard to hunt for, and they look great on a resume if you're trying to break into penetration testing. So some of the more serious penetration testing certifications, once you kind of have the basics and you feel comfortable. Offensive Security Certified Professional, or OSCP, is the gold standard for penetration testing certifications. Most businesses will probably not interview you unless you have this one. It is the absolute best thing we have as a gold standard for penetration testing. Very, very difficult. All of it is practical and hands-on. You will end with a 24-hour exam, which you have to hack your way through computers and write a report and deliver it to them. The course will chew you up and spit you out, so take that with a grain of salt. It's not entry level. You should definitely have some idea of security and some penetration testing before going into this one. Same with the 0 Point Security Red Team courses. 0 Point is very affordable for red teaming, so if you want to get more familiar with acting how like a threat actor would for like trying to ransomware an organization or making your way through. So the course allows you to use Cobalt Strike, which is like the go-to command and control server that real threat actors use to this day. There's a lot of cracked versions of it, which I'm not saying to download, but there are cracked versions that real threat actors are using against real organizations. It's been the gold standard for command and control servers for a long time. There's the Offensive Security 300 series courses as well. Once you have passed the Offensive Security Certified Professional, these kind of allow a person to branch out into more speciality. They have one that's binary exploitation for 32-bit Windows apps. They have a Mac course now. There's web apps focused. There's one that dives into more into internal network penetration testing. They're all very high quality courses too, albeit they are a bit expensive. And then SANS is another one. If your company has an unlimited training budget, it's about $8,000 a course, but they are very good, and they are in person or online, and you do have that personal touch with the SANS courses, and they're all been pretty good that I've seen. It's important to kind of stand out in the penetration testing market right now too. Publishing research and tools on GitHub are a good way to get your name out there. There was one guy I believe we just hired. He wrote a tool that, if I remember right, it would just build a command and control profile, and it was just a little bash script that he wrote and just put on GitHub. And my higher up saw him, and we reached out and hired him on the spot because it was a really nice little bash script, pretty basic, but it saved us a ton of time for making Cobalt Strike malleable profiles. And that's something that anyone can really do. Just publishing your work and showing your work to demonstrate the impact and value is going to get you there. And there's no shortage of public tools on GitHub that could use active contributors in the offensive security space. What you all are doing today helps as well, networking online, or physical communities like where we're at now, or on Discords, or just chat rooms in general. The market is hot right now with penetration testing. So there's been a lot of just like everywhere else. There's been a lot of both layoffs and hiring surges. So the market's pretty flooded right now. So if you're actively applying, don't get discouraged. Just keep trying, and you'll get there eventually. So if you've done all this, you're definitely more than qualified to apply for roles, and just essentially just keep an eye out on online or in your physical communities. There's a lot of just meetups, and someone might be hiring at the meetup if you hear something. And be always sure to tweak your resume to the job. Don't just bare bones cut it. Okay, so I just blew through that. So I wanted to kind of take toward the end here. If anyone has if anyone's actively trying to be a penetration tester, if you want to raise your hand, tell me a little about yourself. And you need some advice. Like more than happily to answer anyone's questions or concerns or statements if anyone has any. No? Once, twice. Oh, yes, sir. Oop. Hmm. Okay, so he said he's going through Pen 200's course right now, and he just took an attempt and just asked if he could, any additional resources you'd recommend. Hack the Box, Try Hack Me are your two standards. Virtual Hacking Labs is another one that kind of fell off a while ago. I took that whenever I did the course back in 2019. I don't hear many people talk about it anymore, so I don't know 100% if it's still being maintained. But yeah, Virtual Hacking Labs is another good range. Yes, sir. Of course, he said that his son's sitting next to him, and he doesn't have much professional experience with tech yet, and just wanted some general advice. I'm just repeating for the the recording. Yeah, just don't be afraid to jump in. I don't believe there's an age limit on bug bounties, so you could always try to do a bug bounty and try to hack things in real time. Swagger Labs are completely free and give a great introduction to like website hacking. The most important thing is just find something you like to work in. If you hate, try to write an Android app or like an iOS app, or build a website, try to code like a little Hello World program to see what you like. Because if you don't like writing desktop apps, why would you hack them? Or you know what I mean? I can't talk today. So just don't be afraid to experiment out and try things. Oh, yes, sir. So he likes building websites, and he was looking for more introductory certifications for website hacking. I want to point you to Swagger Labs specifically because their entire thing is web apps, and the labs are amazing. They're hands-on. It does require using Burp Community. I don't know if you were at the Burp talk earlier today, but yeah, the Swagger Labs are amazing for website hacking. Burp does have a certification that you can take. It's a 4-hour-long practical. It does not require a report, but you do have to actually hack your website. You have about 4 hours. I believe it's $100, but it goes on sale for Black Friday, usually for like $5. So I would definitely go through all the Swagger Labs in your time if you can, and then attempt the certification. And then the Security Plus as well is always a great start. It's just a really well-rounded security certification for entry level. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I do not. Yeah, that sounds like boring paperwork, and I'm not for that. I'm here to pop shells and get paid. Yep. Anyone else? Yep. Yes, sir. I would start with a few of the more entry-level ones. On one of my previous slides, I had like Security Plus, the JPT. Start with those ones because they're a little more cost-effective, and they get you to stand out. A few of the certs I had later on them are a little more expensive, so avoid those ones, especially early on. But penetration testing is not I would call there's entry-level penetration testing, and then there's entry-level job. And you definitely want to start doing like web development, server administration, something in that realm first before shipping to penetration testing. Because penetration isn't just doing something, it's making sure things are done right. It's like a process. So until you've kind of seen those processes in place, it's going to be hard to jump right into penetration testing. It's definitely not impossible, but that's what I would recommend. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I would recommend the eLearn Securities Junior Penetration Tester or the Burp Sweep, the web, whatever they call their web application one. Next, if you're actively working in an environment, you might consider after the EJPT. I would recommend the 0-point security courses. I think they're a pretty good value, and there's a ton of information, especially in the first one. And plus, you get a hands-on Cobalt Strike experience. You're going to see what a threat actor is seeing when you're going through that course and navigating through. Yeah. Anyone else? Going once. Oh, yes. I've looked into it, but I don't have an opinion on it yet. I've not heard anyone have it, and I've not heard any testimonials. And that was in regards to the Hack the Box certifications. All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Yep. It's good for speaking the language of penetration testing in regards to the Pen Test Plus certification for the recording. It's good. It helps you speak the language of a penetration test. It's kind of more geared for reading a report and knowing the methodology of a pen tester, but it's still a kind of a multiple choice test in a sense that the other ones are all very practical. The Pen Test Plus also expires, whereas the other courses I've been recommending, like the offensive security courses, the 0-point ones, do not expire. So that's another perk for the other ones. All right, anyone else? So, yes, sir. Especially if you're starting out, but if you have experience, you could skip over it. Yep. And that was in regards to like networking certifications if they're required. All right, anyone else? All right, yeah, thank you guys for sticking out to the end of the day with me. Hope to see everyone tomorrow. If you want to ask me any questions, I'll be here in the hallways walking around, doing lockpicking or sitting around, so don't be afraid to approach me and ask. Thank you guys for having me again.